Hey guys, and welcome back to Percussion Perspective.
This
This is
is
Remi,
Kevin.
and today we're talking about Percussion Perspective 1 year later. Bum, 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 we did it. We did 1 year of episodes and stayed consistent, hopefully bringing you good information every other Friday. So congrats, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I feel very relieved. My shoulders are relaxed because carrying a podcast is heavy.
The weight on your shoulders, yeah. If you guys don't know, Kevin does do all of the
That was a
editing.
joke.
Yeah. Well, no, but I'll just say it. Like, you do a little bit more work on your side because I have a child and you don't. So,
Wow, I felt that
yeah,
all the way,
good.
all the way to my
Um,
core.
all the way to your dad core. Oh man. Yeah, congrats. It's awesome that we have been doing this. I don't think that we're not changing the world or anything like that, but you know we were talking earlier, and like there's lots of people that have like, hey, that's a big deal. There's lots of people that don't even make it past like 5 or 10 what is it, 10 episodes? That's like the number that you always see.
Yeah, ever since we've been doing this, I've seen ads that pop up on social media, and then it's like most podcasts don't make it past 10, and so then like if you have, then you're quote unquote successful. But
Right. And I mean, whatever. What even is success in the pot? It just depends, what your goals are. But we're really happy to still be doing this, and to have an opportunity to talk to you guys and hopefully share some knowledge and some experience. So yeah, thanks for carrying it on your shoulders like Rainn Wilson carried the last 2 seasons of The
that's
Office.
true. The
Office,
Office.
Office, the Opus.
Yeah.
Chopin Opus. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Um. So yeah, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's good. Um,
How you
I'm
feeling?
feeling, I'm feeling great, but I also have like crazy allergies. Like I woke up this morning and
Yeah,
I'm like
it's been
congested, and yeah, the wind
windy.
and the the weather has just been like crazy. Like, wow, we're on a podcast and we're talking about weather. But yeah, it's just
It's gonna rain today.
um, yeah. I mean, I'm feeling good, feeling glad that we have made it this far. And when this episode comes out, it'll be basically the 1 year episode. Wow, the 1 year anniversary of our first one that came out.
Hmm.
Kind of cool that it's like over spring break, so we'll never forget um, when we released our intro in our first episode. So yeah, in this episode, we're just going to chat about some things we've learned and some struggles and successes, and at the end we might do a little bit of spring review about or spring update, I guess, on how our percussion programs are going and what's going on with them, and yeah, just chat about it. So I thought we could jump in and start with a little bit of a deeper backstory as to why we wanted to start a podcast, or why we were forced to start a podcast.
Yeah, why we were
Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean money, right? Like no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so we were talking about it before, and I had kind of forgotten, honestly. So the original thing, the original name, Percussion Perspective, was for this Instagram account that I wanted to make, to like just make reels that had like, like funny percussion stuff or like percussion tips and stuff like that, and just call it Percussion Perspective. And then like obviously I wanted Kevin to like help me with that. So it'd be like a joint account or whatever. But then we were like, well, I actually think and like we still want to do that stuff, but I think I don't know who if it was you or me, but we kind of had the realization as we were talking about it on our Marco Polos, right? Which you can talk about in a second. Um, we had the realization that it was like, this is a good format, or a podcast would be a better format for what we're trying to do. And like, oh, we could say this is from the perspective of a percussionist that, not a lot of band directors like, I don't know, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I would say 90% of like, band directors and people that are conducting a band, maybe is what I'll say. People conducting a band most of the time aren't percussionists. There are several, but overwhelmingly, I mean, it's just like, 10% of musicians are percussionists in any given band, 10 to 15. So obviously, just by statistics, you're going to have more wind players. But yeah, we wanted to start it and share our experience and share some information, and then like Percussion Perspective podcast is like PPP works well. Here we are.
Yeah. So, yeah. So even I'm going to go a little bit further back than that. So when Remi was,
1994.
is that when you were born? Yeah.
It was
I'm going to let people guess when I was born. Um,
1894.
So going back a little bit, when I think it was when you were in grad school at KU. I
yeah,
have
okay.
like I've always had like a decent commute, and then you had a decent commute also from where you live to kind of get to the university, to get to campus. And so, but our driving hours were different, and so instead of being able to like chat on the phone, we started sending these videos. And I think I'll give you credit for the name, but I think I started the first video because I remember I was like going to pick up Chipotle and you were busy and or something, and I was like, I just turned my camera on and I was like, "Hey man, I'm going to talk to you about what I'm doing," and then it just kind of started from there. And then instead of sending, or instead of like texting or like talking on the phone when we couldn't, we just started sending each other videos of just like how our days were going, or stupid bull crap we were dealing with, or good things or whatever. Um,
Yeah, and it was always while we were
it's
driving.
literally always while we're driving. Yeah, it's not like we're
Yeah, and
sitting.
we still do this.
We still do it. Yeah.
Or yeah, pretty
And
regularly.
it started by just sending videos on our iPhone, so we were limited to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Do you remember those days? And
I
so,
do, yeah, and you would get into like, you like who, like, I don't know who doesn't have like a phone mount in their
right.
car at this point, but you'd have it up there, and most of the time you'd be pretty good. As like, you kind of train yourself as like, oh, I'm at like 4 minutes, so I'm at 4:15. Like I need to wrap this up, because it wouldn't send, like it would not send a video through
It'd have to be
text
like an
message or through
iCloud or link,
iMessage.
or iCloud link if you wanted to.
Yeah, and so, or it would just, if it went over the 30 seconds, it would like cut out that and send it. And then you'd have to send another video like explaining, oh, I went over my time or whatever. But, sometimes I would get like real into, or I'm like venting about a situation, or I'm driving and talking about something, telling a story. And then I look over and it says like 6 minutes, and I'm like, oh crap. Like, I don't even know, so, then I would just
Right.
send another one and be
I
like,
was
I don't even
saying,
know where to start.
yeah,
Yeah. And so I'll just call you. But yeah, so we called those video updates, or
yep,
VUs, right?
yep.
And then I don't know why it took us so long to move to Marco
Well, actually,
Polo,
one of my
because it
coworkers
was,
used it, and
see, and I knew what it was before, but I just never had
yeah,
the idea to like use that
this would be
while
a
we were
perfect ad
talking.
for Marco Polo if they sponsored us. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so we did that, and then we just kind of realized that we just talk like a lot, like just back and forth. And so we were like, we're gonna like one day we were just like, we should start a podcast, and that was probably, I don't know, 2 years before it actually happened. And then one day we were
Yeah.
just like, boom, we just were like, let's just try it. And we each got our stuff like really cheap. Like I think the only really, like, we both found mics, and we both found, you found like a really cheap audio interface, and we're using the free version of our
Yeah.
software. And so it's been pretty simple money wise, I guess. But
Yeah, we really haven't invested much into it. I think I bought an audio interface for like $50, which it's like I'd been wanting one anyway, and it's just like a little 2-track that I can use to record marimba or something if I want. And um, yeah, it's we did it that way on purpose. Like we, I mean, yeah, it'd be great if we made money from this and like um had some partnerships or things like that, but we're hoping that will happen eventually. Um, but just starting off, it's like, okay, we're both teachers. We don't need to spend extra money on this, so let's do it as cheap as we can. But still, like, it was important to us that we wanted it to be good quality. So like, that we wanted to use good microphones. We wanted to use it. We tried to find like the best software that we could that we didn't have to pay for, and blah blah blah. So anyway, it's been going well so far. We kind of got it streamlined, and now we're doing video too.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
So,
But yeah, let's
oh, sorry.
let's chat about like things we've learned along the way. Um so I mean, I think the first thing is like it just takes more preparation than you think to do a podcast. We don't, and also we're not trying to make this episode like a how to start a podcast. But
Yeah,
we're
no.
just reviewing ourselves after a year of doing this. So I don't want people who are like, I don't need Joe Rogan commenting on this and being like, none of that information is right about starting a podcast. But
Yeah, you guys suck. Your podcast
anyway,
sucks.
so it does take more preparation than you think. We've had a couple of episodes where we're like halfway through and we're like, I don't know if this is working. Or like because sometimes we can just jump on and do it, and then sometimes it's like we shouldn't have just jumped on and did this. We should have had a I
Yeah, we should
yeah.
have had a
And I
better
remember at the very
plan.
beginning we did have like one of your duties was like creating the outline, and so we've kind of gone from really 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 picky to like being a little more chill, and I think that leads to better organic conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, at the beginning it was like, we would listen back to the episodes, and like Kevin was having to do a whole bunch of editing because I said like 30 times every episode, and so, well, there I go. So he would like have to, dang it. Now now I'm like super aware of that.
Um,
He would have to edit that out, and he would be like texting me like, dude, I hate you. I literally took 15 ums out of this episode. And then it was just like, okay, well, that's just how I
yeah,
talk, so just leave it in and I'll try and fix it. And as we've done it longer, we've gotten more comfortable, but there are definitely topics where um okay, where we need an outline to help us, and then sometimes we jump on and we just go for it. We just jot down on like a post-it note, or we have a Google Drive together where we can um, do those things and keep it organized. And we'll just take a little bit of time before we start recording, and get some bullet points going, and then just go for it. It kind of just depends on the topic.
yeah, I think we're getting better at that too. It's hard. It's hard when you're trying to relay information in like a good way, but you want it to sound organic and not like we're robots or something.
Yeah, and like I don't know what you call it, like self-editing or like live editing, where you're trying to again, it's like we're not trying to make this take a whole bunch of extra time. We want it to be really good, but we also don't want to take a bunch of extra time out of our schedules. So trying to like live edit, self-edit while we're doing this makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Which yeah, and that's my second topic was like even though we are best friends and we talk all the time, it did take us a couple episodes to kind of relax and to make it sound normal. And so I'm sure that a couple of our first episodes were very, I don't know, monotone or dry or emotionless.
Yeah,
And
rough, just
yeah, and
rough. Yeah. I haven't listened to episode one since, we released it, or whatever. Since we were listening to it before we released it, I probably would cringe if I went back and listened
yeah,
to it. Sorry, I keep kicking this
that's
trash
okay.
can. I need to
That's all
move
right.
it.
Um, so yeah, hopefully, if you have been listening since day one, hopefully we sound more organic and we sound more enjoyable and relaxed to listen to.
Yeah. One thing that I learned, I mean, I had no experience with a podcast. I have a really good friend that has a podcast. Shout out Kindle Recording Lounge. If you want any professional audio engineer, super in-depth explanations about that type of stuff, he has a great show called Recording Lounge, or
Did
the
he
Recording
pay
Lounge.
for an ad?
Anyway, yeah,
Oh,
he
sweet.
Venmoed
Okay.
me. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that I knew like a little bit about it, but I'd never done anything, and it's very what I would call front loaded. So there's a lot of work setting up a podcast at the very beginning. And that's not to say that it's super easy to like we just went and talked about. It takes more preparation than you think. So, but just getting the podcast live, like that was like a project. If correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like we did some work on it over Christmas break, like 2023.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of work on it over Christmas break, and then we did a bunch of work kind of like periodically leading up to the release, which was like a year ago. um so it took us a little bit of time, and that's when we're teaching and having our own lives and blah blah blah. We're only able to work on it a little bit at a time, and our schedules are crazy, so we don't get a whole bunch of opportunities to really talk. Like we've been saying it a lot because we're trying to figure out some other things for the podcasts that are coming up right now. So we'll send Marco Polos right now, and we're kind of trading ideas back and forth. But I'll be like, yeah, man, we just need to actually talk on the phone about this, because it would take 2 minutes to talk it through rather than go back and forth.
Right.
But that's just kind of how it is. So um, but yeah, it was very front loaded. So like the learning about like the RSS feed and how to get to all the different distributors, and um, like a little bit of branding and things like that. We just had to have all of that stuff organized. We didn't want to. We were really adamant about like not uh releasing it before it was ready. Is like, if we're going to do this, let's try and do it the right way. So there was just more involved than I expected,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that we did it the way we did. Like, I'm glad we got a logo, and I'm glad we like made the theme song and all of that stuff. Like, I think consistency is key with a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully you guys know what you can expect when you hear our theme and
One
blah
thing
blah blah.
about that theme, if you actually go to Remy's, I don't know if I'm tagged in it or not, but Remy's Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Remy.Thornton.perk.
Perk. Yeah. Okay. If you go there, there's actually, I think we have a video of
Yeah, I
us.
was at my old
It was like a
house.
Thanksgiving break. I think we were supposed to
hmm
go camping and we didn't, which was a
Yeah, we
recurring
just
theme
ended
of
up
our
going.
past. Um,
Yeah, we just ended it. Well, it
yeah,
rained a
yeah,
bunch. We ended up going to the
yeah.
climbing
But
gym or
there's a
something
video of
instead.
us. Remy has a marimba, and that's where the theme song came from. Was that
Yeah,
video?
maybe we can put it in the show. Link to it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
cool. Um, go ahead with your last little bullet there.
Sure. So the last thing, kind of what we have learned along the way. Um, this is kind of deep. Be okay with where you are, right? Like, don't have try not to compare yourself to other this is just like a good thing in life anyway. Like, try not to compare yourself to other people, but that leads you down a path of just not super great stuff. Be okay with where you are, and try to be consistent. So like I was saying earlier, it was really important that we had all that stuff in place first before we started. That way we could be consistent for our audience. um, but also, like, that's what we wanted to do as well. Like, we wanted to make sure that we were consistent in what we were putting out as far as standards and format of episodes and things like that, because the people that we look up to in this industry, or whatever you want to say, um, like Stuff You Should Know. I think we've mentioned that podcast on the show before, but like, that's one of the most popular ones probably in the world. And they're really consistent with their intros and their breaks and their outro. We just kind of are trying to emulate, the people that are before us and are successful. So trying to be consistent, and the big thing is just be all right with where you are and just try to build from there. So
Yeah, that's all good stuff.
talk talk about some struggles, kind of some things that there's been a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Mainly
just
having to talk
working
to you
with
for an
Remy
hour every
Thornton
weekend.
is so. Um, no, and I mean, yeah, there's going to be struggles with any kind of, you know, project that you're trying to get off the ground. I mean, I know that we're not like reinventing the wheel, and we're also not like trying to build a Fortune 500 company, but at the same time, with with
Speak for yourself.
oh, I guess we have different goals. We but with a project like this, there's struggles that come up, there's challenges, and there's like just hard things that you kind of wouldn't expect. One of the hardest is just Remy and I have extremely parallel jobs. Like we're both percussion directors at 6A high schools. And so we kind of do a lot of the same things, but that doesn't mean that our schedules line up. So um, it's been a challenge to sometimes, like, even though we pretty much always have a kind of a set schedule of, Sunday afternoons are pretty normal for us to jump on and record a podcast, but it hasn't been like that every single time. There's been a few times where our episodes come out every other Friday, and there's been times where we've recorded an episode Thursday night. It's like Thursday night comes and we're like, okay, because I had something Monday and Tuesday, Remy had something Wednesday, and it just happens. Remy does have a kid, and so there's a lot more with that. And our teaching schedules are just different. So I think on both sides of the screen, there's been times where we've had to just make sacrifices for each other to make the time work. And so, yeah, sometimes there's been Thursday nights, before the episode comes out the next day at 5 a.m. that we're like recording, and then he goes and takes care of his daughter, and I edit it and get it uploaded and stuff like that. So, but it works. And sometimes that's just how it happens. And another struggle is just, with all of the extra time that you put into something like this, especially before you're getting like a financial return on it. So, which again, that's probably, people who have built massive companies, or people who now have a successful podcast probably didn't start that way. Or they probably did start that way, where you're putting a lot of work into something that's not getting anything or giving anything back to you.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge at the same time as the schedule and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about the financial thing. It's like obvious, like we're both teachers in Oklahoma, right? Like it's not like we're rolling in
Speak
dough
for
or
yourself.
anything, but we're yeah, sorry. That's right. You have a cookie dough business. You're just rolling in dough. That'd be a great business idea. Let's not do this
Cookie
podcast
dough,
anymore and open up rolling in
rolling in
dough. You
dough.
just call it,
Okay.
but it's like,
Each cookie is $10.
cookie dough. Right, yeah. That's kind of what's that other brand? Insomnia cookies.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
like
but
pretty
those
expensive,
things are
aren't they? They're
good,
like,
and they're
yeah,
warm, and you can have them
yeah.
delivered with milk.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I haven't
Anyway,
had one of those in a long
yeah.
time.
How many they pay for an ad too? So the financial stuff. It's like that's not our goal with this, right? Like our goal is to share knowledge and share experience and help out, like be a resource, be an educational resource, be of support for people that like don't have percussion knowledge, or that want more percussion knowledge, or like just need something, that are interested in percussion and just need something to like listen to on the way to work or whatever. You know, so yeah, that's our goal there. But it is sometimes hard where it's like, oh, we're putting in a lot of work for this, and um, not really seeing a whole lot of return. But a lot of we'll talk about, some successes here in a little bit, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any
I
regrets
knew you were going to say it
about
wrong.
it.
No regrets. Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back to talk about some successes of our podcast.
Hey guys, we just wanted to take a minute here and talk to you about our friends at Palin Music. Kevin and I both work really closely with them at our schools, and we wanted to share some of our experiences here on the podcast.
Yeah, so Palin has been a game changer for our sixth grade rental night. Out of all the companies that I've worked with before, they are excellent. They bring more than enough representatives to our
Careful
to
there.
our rental night, and they're able to streamline that process where it just moves really fast. You know, parents are always acting inconvenienced that we have them be there on a weeknight anyway, and the fact that Palin comes so prepared makes it really fast, and they always have exactly what we ask them to bring. Palin also makes a visit to our school every week. They have a representative that comes. They text us every Monday morning and say, "Hey, we're on our way. What do you need? Here's what I'm bringing." And most times, I can, if I need a drumstick or a drum head or something, I can normally text them back that morning and say, "Hey, I need this," and a lot of times they'll have it. And if they don't, then they've got another location that probably has it, and then I can get it pretty quick. So Palin has just fantastic service, and they're super quick as well.
Yeah, and purchasing from Palin has been really easy as well. They are our main vendor, as I mentioned. And last year we ordered new drums for my school. Their reps were super helpful along the way. They answered questions about like finishes and sizes, and they were communicating with the manufacturer if there were delays, and they would kind of advocate for us, like you quoted us this amount of time, so we need the drums by then, or whatever. So they were just kind of with us during that whole process. They even delivered, stuff as it came in early, so I didn't have to worry about, you know, it sitting in a warehouse somewhere or whatever. Like we got what we needed when it came in. So we really appreciated that. They definitely put the needs of their clients, teachers and the students first, and I'm just really thankful to work with them. So we just wanted to let you guys know they have a ton to offer if you're in the market for anything musical, including guitars and keyboards and even lessons at some of their locations. And so if you're interested and you'd like to learn more, you can check them out on palinmusic.com.
All right, and we are back to Percussion Perspective. I'm Kevin.
Okay.
The
Yo.
second intro. Um, yeah, so we're going to move on to, we've talked about some, I guess, basically stressful and negative things about this, but there's been some happy things and some successes also. So um, one of them is, the few comments and emails that we have received over the last year, which very small handful, but it reassures us that there are people in the world that have listened to our episodes and like them and enjoy them. Wow, like and enjoy, and learn from them. And that, like, it's those little bitty moments where sometimes I might be like, oh my gosh, this is getting hard and no one cares and stuff, and we get a comment or an email or something that reassures us that what we're doing is good, and that's very like, okay, we can do another episode. Basically, it's kind of like fuel to the fire.
Yeah, gives you an like, okay, I can do this for a little bit longer, and it's funny how some of those things come in like exactly when they need to, like when you're kind of like, oh, this week I've been thinking about like, man, this is difficult or whatever, and then we get an email from somebody saying, hey, I really enjoyed that last episode, and it helped me on this concert or whatever. I played this instrument, and I listened to your episode and learned more about it or something. So yeah, we really appreciate those. Definitely keep those coming every once in a while. If you haven't written into the show, we'd love to hear from you, or in anything like that. So that helps a lot. It's like when you teach when you've been teaching a kid for a long time and they finally just have like that breakthrough moment and you're like, oh, this is why I do it. Like that kid understanding this concept or performing something really well, um, it kind of makes all of the hardship worth it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Keep those. If you've ever thought like, I'm gonna give them a comment or I'm gonna email them, just do it, unless it's negative. Actually, we would accept negative comments as well. Let us know what we're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
wrong, because I'm sure that list is massive.
How we've
Yeah.
offended you.
another success is we are, if you know, that'd be really cool if somebody that's listening right now already knows this, but we have moved into the video space. So we were encouraged to jump into the YouTubes and just upload video episodes of our
The tube of
tubes.
views.
But yeah, we've jumped into that. So if you want to watch our episodes, there's an opportunity for that too. What are you trying to say?
For whatever reason. Yeah, if you want to look at us for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
But yeah, so that is,
And that's,
oh my gosh.
yeah, I was going to say, give them, okay.
At
3,
Percussion
2,
Perspective
1.
Pod on YouTube. So go in there. We're working slowly on getting like all the old episodes on. I don't know if we'll actually go back all the way to number 1. I don't know if anybody wants to see that, but we will definitely be getting every episode now that comes out will come out with a video version also. And so if you're someone who likes watching a podcast versus just listening, then that will be available on YouTube at Percussion Perspective Pod.
Yeah, you can watch me like mute the mic and then cry like, and just sob, but you can't hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'll take this.
Yeah,
last
you wrote
one, I
it.
guess.
So
is that all right?
yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay, good.
Oh
for
wait,
me.
no, that was me. But you got it. You got it.
I didn't think so. Okay. We get an opportunity. You guys find out right now that I can't read. No, the show just gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect on our own teachings, and so I mean, really, it's been like I've learned a lot just from doing this podcast. I think we might have spoken about that on the show before, but just bouncing ideas off each other like that. Like I feel like I'm a better teacher this year just because we've been doing this podcast, and in the last year, like my students are benefiting from me doing this podcast, as hopefully your students, if you're listening, hopefully your students are benefiting from us doing this podcast and from you listening to it and you transferring that information. So just, yeah, it gives us time to reflect on our own teaching, learn from each other, and kind of like I usually leave inspired, encouraged to be a better teacher, or like, oh, Kevin said he did this, and like that's not something that I'm doing, so I really need to like get my act together and organize that or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of made, this is gonna be cheesy, but it has put it into perspective a little bit, that like the jobs that we're doing are important and that we can still benefit from learning from each other, and just having conversations brings about new ideas, especially when we bring on guests. That conversation with Adam was very eye-opening, to just new techniques and things that we don't think about, that other people are doing, and that makes it really, really beneficial, and hopefully to you guys as well. But
yeah, and in this job, every job has its difficult things, but like being a percussion director or just being a band director, a music educator, there's just so many things that you have to do. But like specifically percussion, I don't know if we've actually articulated it on the show. We probably have, but like a trumpet player, they just play the trumpet. They might play a flugelhorn sometimes. They might play a cornet. They might play a C trumpet or whatever. But it like percussion, there's just so many different facets to percussion, and you're expected to learn it all, or you're expected to teach it all in the same amount of time. That other people are teaching other students to play one instrument, to be good at one instrument, essentially, and it's just like there's so many things that you can just gloss over that are so important, but just because of the nature of it, you just don't think about it because there's so many other things to think about. And so this, kind of being a sounding board for each other, when we're talking about things, it like definitely reminds me like, oh gosh, like why haven't I been doing that? That's super important. Like, why haven't I talked about triplets with my sixth graders yet? Or why haven't I talked about, this rudiment, or this explain this sticking, or whatever. So yeah, it's just a really, really, you know, complex craft, and so having each other to talk about that too, it just kind of, and like, you know, having conversations with other people, guests or whatever, just gives you a different perspective, gives you a different what's the leader in me word
The
for
what?
that? Paradigm, your paradigm,
Oh,
right? Anyone have to do that crap in school? Anyway, so yeah, just gives you a different outlook on it and helps you maybe catch some things that you've been slipping on. So anyway, let's talk about the
yeah. So this
future.
is our last episode of
Yeah,
beginning.
future goals. Future goals. Quit making this
um,
podcast.
no, yeah, we you know, we're gonna. This sounds simple, but like we're gonna continue what we're doing, and you know, continuing with our current schedule, and be better. We want to be better, as in we just want to have better conversations and be more prepared for the podcast and give out very solid information. We want to have more guests. We have a list of guests that we're going to have. So if anybody has recommendations for guests, also, but um,
Yeah.
or if anybody just wants to be on the podcast, if you're a percussionist and you want to talk, pay us $10,000 and we'll let you be on an
Yeah, I've
episode.
had a lot of my students are like, "Are you gonna have students on the podcast?" I'm like, I don't really know how we. I mean,
Yeah,
like, you're definitely not coming to my house,
yeah, but I
or I don't want you to know
I
where I
think that
live.
idea, student perspective, could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it'd be
I
cool.
think I have also had a couple students that are like, have me on there, and I'm like, what would you even talk about? And they're like, I don't know. And so
Yeah,
those would be like
Fortnite.
4-minute episodes, but
You know, we could just have like little interviews and then put them all in
yeah,
one
that'd be
episode.
funny.
That's kind
That
of a
would
cool
be a good
idea.
idea. Yeah. Um,
It'd be oh man, hey, I just
what?
thought of it. Pupil perspective, right?
Not bad. Not bad. And then we could just have random people, and it would just be people perspective. Um,
Yeah, people
yeah,
person perspective. My daughter just woke up from her nap. If you can hear her
yeah.
yelling.
Um, you know, and we also want to grow our reach, so be able to just get the word out more. You know, we
Yeah, I've been working on lengthening my fingers, like, and my arms, so I can
get taller.
like reach things that are further away. You
Yeah,
know?
it would be good to just be able to sit and reach anything you need. Um,
Yeah, like Elastigirl.
Incredibles. We also want to interact with
Yeah,
you guys more, so we really would like to do a Q&A portion of our episode and answer any questions about percussion that anybody might have. So, and full episodes based on topics that what you guys want to know. So, if you're a beginning percussionist listening to this, or you're a 90-year-old band director listening to this, or if you're somewhere in between, you don't have to
a
you don't have to
90-year-old
be
band
you don't have to
director.
be just those two options. But and you have a topic, like you would just like us to talk about something specific on the podcast, please email us, comment on one of our reels on Instagram, anything, comment on a video on YouTube. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we would love to do that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it'd be a really cool thing to do a Q&A, question and answer,
Oh
if you didn't
yeah,
know. Portion like a live Q&A or something. I mean, you know, you can do like, you can, people do that all the time, I feel like.
yeah.
That'd be really cool if we did something like that. Um, yeah, so the other thing that we're looking at is, we really want to give like a talk or a presentation or record a live episode, at like some state conventions, like some music education. So like here in Oklahoma, we have OKMEA, right? Oklahoma Music Educator Association. I know, you know, pretty much every state has that equivalent, right? Like Texas is like TMEA,
Let's go
and
through all of them.
I think, yeah, okay, so like what would be first?
Alaska.
Alabama, AMEA, Alaska, yeah. So, you know, that's probably down the line, like we would, but that would be something really cool that we would like to do, and um help us reach more people, you know. That's part of the reason that we're wanting to do more and more interviews is because I think, it just brings really good content to the podcast and gets really good information out, because we're not going to interview someone that's like not worth interviewing, so getting someone that has a really great perspective and has really great thoughts out there, but also like that's a way to grow the podcast, because when we get that person on, we sort of have access to like their network of people, and in that way we use them, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, just growing the podcast and bringing more info to you guys, and having a good time while we're doing it, because I do have a, genuinely good time talking to you every weekend when we record this, or whenever we do record
Same.
it. So, and thanks for making the sacrifices that you have to deal with my parent schedule and stuff sometimes.
It's all good, man. I know
I'll like text you and be like, "Hey man, you good to hop on at 1?" And you're
what
like,
what did I text
like,
you today?
yeah.
Tell everyone.
Oh, you were just like, just text me when you're in the studio. And it was like 15 minutes later, because my daughter is at the age where we're really afraid of it, but she's like starting to not need her nap anymore, her afternoon nap, which is like, I love my daughter, but it's like, it's really nice to like have a kid be asleep for an hour and a half or whatever, and you can do some things that you need to do. And I don't feel guilty doing those things and leaving my wife like by herself with a kid. And, that if that's when we record the podcast, is when my daughter is asleep, because if I had to just, I'm already gone a lot, like, band directors are busy. So if I was also being like, yo, you cool with another hour of being with the kid by yourself? She'd be like, you're not making that podcast. So anyway, but yeah, thank you guys for listening. This year's been great. Hopefully we've got, at least one more year.
Yeah.
Many more, many moons.
Well, cool. You got anything else?
I don't think so. You want to save like the spring semester update for?
Sure, we can chat about that a different time and let people know how our spring semesters are going with our percussion ensemble pieces we've played and solos our kids are playing and stuff like that. But yes, I want to reciprocate. Yeah, thank you for the sacrifices you've done as well, because I know I don't know how hard it is to do something like this with a kid, but I'm sure it's not the easiest thing. But I do laugh every time. It's like Remi will be like, all right, jump on at 1, and it's like 1:20, and he's like, all right, I'll be there in a minute. And so it's just funny. It's just who you are. Our personalities are so polar opposite with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're like 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
Which is just
somehow
a whole other thing.
When you're gonna text me and I'm already ready. But
yeah,
cool. Well, email us, message us, all of the things, and if you ain't got nothing else, then we will see you on the next pod episode.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Happy 1 year.